Good morning. If you're just now joining us, please make sure you type your name in the chat box to sign in. I am going to wait a few minutes because this being the first day of class, sometimes it takes a little while for everybody to get set up. So we'll get started in just a few minutes. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I may have a few come in late, but my name is Jessica. I will be Jessica Brown. There's two Jessicas. There's one that teaches math, Jessica Pipkins, and myself, Jessica Brown. A little confusing. But if you say JB, most of the people know who you're talking about. That's me. All my coworkers call me JB. If you have joined us and you haven't put your name in the chat box, please do so to sign in. If this is your first time using Zoom, let me know, okay? And I'll go over a few things. But generally, we like to keep our mics on mute when we're not talking. If you need to talk, you can unmute that and talk anytime. If you don't prefer to talk, you can type in the chat box. Okay, I see I have a first timer on Zoom. Zoom is really neat and really easy once you get used to it. It's very useful. But if you look, I'm going to share my screen real quick. And take my video off and share my screen. So you can see what I'm talking about here. All right, so this is what my screen looks like. Yours should look like something similar. I can see everybody that's in the class. Down here in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see this little microphone looking thing. You can mute and unmute yourself there. So if you click on it, that would be muted, and you click on it again to unmute yourself. You do have a video capability right here. So if I wanted to start my video where you can see me, I would just click on that. If I wanted to stop my video, I would do that and click on it again to come back. And you do not have to show me your lovely faces. I would like to see you, but it's not necessary. I know some people are shy. I don't like to look at myself. Sometimes I just turn this off because I get caught up looking at myself. Down here, you'll see in the bottom middle, you'll see chat. So if you want to, if the chat's not up, it'll bring it up like that. Okay. Let's see. There's reactions. You see this little icon down here that says reactions. You can actually click on that and like give me a thumbs up or laughing face or whatever you want. Or you can raise a hand. I try to pay attention to that. And you can lower hand. So raise hand and then click on it again to lower hand. Okay, that's just a few little things. We will be using the same Zoom link every time. And let's see, I do want to show you, hold on just a sec. Stop share. I hope you all can hear me okay. If not, let me know. Let's see. I don't want to share. I'm going to stop share. Okay. Let me see here. I'll move this over. I'm going to go to our Google Classroom. All of your assignments and everything that you do should be in Google Classroom. And I will show you what that looks like. Excuse me, I'm a little froggy this morning. Okay, so this is what your Google Classroom looks like. So if you have not gotten into that, you need to go in and join. I think all of you that are on here have joined it already. This, where we're at right now, if you look up here, is called the stream. This is the tab that we're on. You should see the name of your class. So if you're new to Google Classes, the easiest thing is when you're in your email, let me show you. If you're signed into your Google email and you look over here at this grid right here, this looks like little dots. I call it a grid. If you click on that, you scroll down, you go to your Google class, looks like a little chalkboard. All of your Google classes all of the Google classes that you're in should pop up here. And for instance, you would click on this because you're in reading class. This is the class we're in. If you're just now joining, please go ahead and sign in, sign your name in just type your name in the chat box to sign into class for me. So this is what your Google class should look like. We are on the stream tab. And if you look down, I've got a couple of things in here. These are put here for convenience for you. There is a link to the Zoom meeting. We will use the same link for every Zoom meeting we do for this class. So all you have to do is click on that and go. And it should take you right in. You shouldn't have to put your meeting name and passcode, but just in case you do, it's here as well. And then another website we'll be using is called Common Lit. It's commonlit.org, I believe. But this, you'll need a class code to do your work in there. And right here is the code. So it's always, this information is always going to be right here in your stream. And then if you look over at the next tab, it's classwork, and click on that, you're going to see welcome information about class times and things like that. And then landing page has my bio. I have contact information in here. Um, if you need to text me, this is the number to text me on. I did get a text from somebody this morning, I don't know who it was, that said they had a Zoom meeting at 10. That is fine. The way that our class is going to work is we will meet on first thing in the morning at 9 a.m. We'll be on Zoom for about 45 minutes to an hour. We will get off of Zoom. You have assignments that you will work on for the day for over that next hour. Then at 11 o'clock, you're going to get right back on Zoom with me, and we're going to go over those assignments together and answer any questions you might have about, the assignments or the day's lesson. So that's kind of how that's going to work. So you should be off at 10 o'clock. To the person that said they had another class, I'm not sure what class that would be. I know Wage sometimes will meet at 10. Those in Wage, it is not required. It's just on certain days you can get on there and meet and catch up with your teacher and ask questions. So it's not a set thing that's required for you if it's a Wage course or the workforce prep. We use those interchangeably. The other thing might be if you're in another distance learning class with Mitchell Hook. Anytime you have a conflict with your distance learning, like with Mitchell, if you let him know that you have another class at that time, he can set up another time to meet with you one-on-one, just so you know. Just a little bit of extra information there if you need it. I have some information here on Common Lit. You can read this document. It tells you kind of about how to navigate the Common Lit website that we'll be using. There's information on how to submit assignments. Basically, all of our assignments are going to have a Google form that you type in your answers and submit. So that's automatically going to get turned in to me. But there's also a feature on each assignment where you mark as turned in or mark as done. If you mark those, I'm going to get the work if you submit it through the Google form. But if you mark those, it helps you keep track of which ones you've done and which ones you haven't. And then, of course, there's the syllabus. There was a couple of quiz and tell me about yourself that if you haven't done, you'll need to do. And then we're going to look at class 1 assignments a little later. So this is what your classwork page looks like. And then your stream again is back here. Usually when you sign into your Google Class, this is the first thing that pops up is the stream. Okay, I am going to get out of that. I am going to tell you a little bit about myself. Like I said, my name is Jessica Brown. We do have another Jessica, that's Jessica Pipkins, that teaches math. So it can be a little confusing. Coworkers here call me JB. So if you say JB, they'll know who you're talking about. I have worked in adult ed for the last couple of years. Some of you have met me before, some of you haven't. I previously worked at the Ozark Center for the past 2 years. And then I recently moved over here to the Boonville Center, and I'm housed at the Boonville Center right now. And I will just let you know that for Boonville, we'll be moving locations over the next few weeks. So there may be a chance that I don't have the capability to get online and teach class. In that event, I will send out emails and messages, and I will have a pre-recorded lesson for you in the event that that happens. Just so you know, it may be a little odd this session, but just bear with me and we'll get through it together. Anyways, I've worked in education total of 17 years. Before I came to adult ed, I worked for migrant education for 15 years, and I taught everything from preschool through 8th grade, math, reading, literacy. So I've done a little bit of everything. I've done one-on-one settings with students. I've done in-home lessons with students. So I've done a wide variety of things working with students and teaching. So that's just a little bit about me. I guess we can go ahead and get started. If you are a brand new student to adult ed, let me know that. Tell me in the chat box. Any brand new students? Okay, I see I have one. Well, I'd just like to say welcome. We're glad that you're here. Our adult ed setting is nothing like any other school setting that you've ever had, probably, and that's a good thing. I mean that in a good way. So we're glad that you're here. Congratulations for getting started on that. I know you're going to do great. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. It'll take me just a minute to get my screens pulled up right for you guys. So I'm going to do that really quickly. I say really quickly. I got 2 or 3 screens going on and a lot of things opened right now. So let's see. Okay. Try to move this around where it's easier for me to navigate. And we will get started in just a moment. Okay. Pull my chat box. Okay, so you should be seeing a screen that says welcome to reading class, instructor Jessica Brown. I will tell you that everything that we go over in this class is geared towards information that is going to be on the TABE test and on your GED test. So it is built to go over things to help you pass the GED test and to raise your TABE scores when you post test. Let's see. See if I can get my ducks in a row here. So one thing to know about me is I love coffee. Coffee, coffee, coffee. I drink it every day. I'll drink it cold, hot, frozen, whatever. I just love the taste of coffee. So I will have some wonderful coffee facts for you every day. Today's coffee fact is that coffee is a fruit. So how about that? So it's healthy, right? We won't talk about all the other stuff we put in it, like sugar and creamer and half and all that good stuff, but it is a fruit. Coffee beans grow on a bush. They're actually the pit of a berry, which makes them a fruit. There are 2 main varieties of beans, green and red. Red beans have a nicer smell and are less acidic. They're used to produce lighter coffees. The longer that coffee beans have been roasted, the healthier they are. Decaffeinated coffee comes from a chemical process where the caffeine is taken out of the beans. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Caffeine is the best thing about coffee, but hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But the caffeine is then often sold to Coca-Cola, which is a major buyer of caffeine. So how about that? That's your coffee fact for the day. Okay, we're going to get started. Let's see. Hold on just a sec. Can you send me the class code? It keeps taking me to class 2021. Is that in Lemon? Is that in Google Class or in Common Lit. I will send you that here in just a minute if you'll let me know which one, Lemon. Okay, so today we are going to talk a little bit about words in context. So while reading, you often come across words that you may not know, but we can often find context clues in nearby words, phrases, or sentences that can help us understand the meaning of the word. If you look at these words, these are a mouthful. Cholecystectomy, laparoscopic, cholecystasis. I can't even say that word. It's just too many letters and verbs in there for me. But if you look at these words, you may have no idea what they're talking about. Just from personal experience, I know that anytime you see ectomy, that means they're removing something. And unfortunately, I've had a few things removed from my body, is why I know that. But if I had no context, to compare that to, I would not know what that word meant. Scopic means something that's been done with a scope. So laparoscopic, I just happen to know from experience that's when they go in with like a little camera. They make small holes to go in and look around, other than doing like a wide open surgery type situation. Again, I would have no idea unless I had some type of background experience with those words. And sometimes that's how it is. If you are not a plumber, you may not know what a backwater valve is, or an angle stop, or a gate valve. So sometimes we have to talk about the context in which words are spoken. And that's where we use clues, like reading clues. So let's talk about some reading clues that we can look for to help us find word meanings. Definitions. Sometimes words are followed by their definition in writing. So, for example, etymology is the study of insects. The word is in this sentence indicates that the writer is about to give you the definition. Another way to look for clues is to pay attention to the punctuation used. Let's take a look at these statements. The definitions may be separated by commas in the sentence. It may be dashes, or by adding another sentence. So if we look at these statements, like herbivores, comma, or plant eaters, comma, include rabbits. So when they separate it out with those commas, they're giving us the definition in between there. So herbivores or plant eaters, they're giving you the definition of herbivore. In the second sentence, it has dashes instead of commas. So that dashes can also indicate a definition. Or sometimes they'll add another sentence, like rabbits are herbivores. In other words, they eat plants. So they're telling you what they are. That is 3 different ways that punctuation can be used to give us a definition in a sentence. Okay. Parentheses can be used to give a definition as well. For this one, for example, the platypus is semi-aquatic. And then in parentheses, they're explaining, lives part of his life in the water and part on land. That is the definition of semi-aquatic. So punctuation can be a big indicator of where the definition can be found. Okay, so but what if an author doesn't use punctuation? What might they do to give us clues? They might use opposites. So how do they give us opposites? By using words such as never, not, unless, while, or on the contrary, things like that. So let's look at how opposites are used in writing. Unlike his quiet and low-key family, James is garrulous. So here's one of those opposite words, unlike. Um, so did you know what the meaning of garrulous was when you read this sentence? I didn't. So, but if I break it down and I think about it and I see that they use that word unlike, they're saying that he is unlike his family, unlike his quiet and low key family. So he is different than quiet and low key. So what is James most likely? Somebody give me that in the chat box. Tell me what you think. What do you think James is actually like if he is unlike his family described in this sentence? Anybody want to guess? No takers, huh? Okay. So if James is not like his family, which are quiet and low key, I'm going to assume that he is probably loud, chatty, and maybe a little, high strung, life of the party type of person. He doesn't like to keep it low key or quiet. So that is the definition of garrulous. Garrulous means maybe loud, um, talkative, something like that. Okay. Let's look at another one. Julie was loquacious, but Jan said little. How many of you have ever seen that word loquacious? I had never seen that before until recently. There's words that I learn every day. You're going to come across words that you've never seen before. So in this sentence, but the word but is used as an indicator of an opposite. So if Julie is loquacious, but Jan said little, what might Julie be? So if you have Julie that's loquacious but Jan said little, which they're indicating an opposite, loquacious would mean talkative, right? She likes to talk a lot, but Jan is quiet. Jan said little. So that's another example of using an opposite to give you the definition of something. Let's see. Another clue we need to watch for is comparisons. Look for words like as, like, to, or statements like similar to or in the same way. These are comparison words. So we have to be, on the lookout for these comparison words when we're trying to figure things out. Let's look at the word also in this statement. I argued vociferously in favor of not moving to a new town. My little brother also argued loudly and strongly for staying put. Okay, do we know? Some of you might know what vociferously meant. That's one of those words that may not be used that often, so most people won't know that word. But if we read the sentence, and she's comparing her little brother to herself, and it says, my little brother also argued loudly and strongly. So from that, I can assume that vociferously means that loudly, they're voicing their opinion, loudly and strongly. So that would be the definition. This is another example of a comparison word, giving us a clue as to what the definition of the word vociferously is. Okay, we're going to move right along. Some other comparison word examples are words like such as, or phrases such as, for instance, or for example. Such as the key phrase, let's see. The archaeologists found different amulets such as a rabbit's foot and a beaded necklace. I may not know what an amulet is. This is the word that they're trying to describe. But the phrase such as leads to two examples of what an amulet may be. So something like a rabbit's foot or a beaded necklace. So it's some type of charm or keepsake. Okay. Any questions about this? Anytime you have a question, just go ahead and chime in, type me a message. I will stop and we'll talk about it in more detail. Writers also may give us lists and series to describe a word. So what does that mean? They may give you a word with a list of things that follow it. For example, North American predators include grizzly bears, pumas, foxes, and wolves. Okay, predators is the word they're describing. And it says they include, and it's going to give you a list, grizzly bears, pumas, foxes, and wolves. So how can we figure out what predators mean? Well, if we look at these animals just by common knowledge, you may not know what all of them are, but most of them are pretty common. And what we think about, okay, what do all these have in common? Grizzly bears, pumas, foxes, and wolves. Well, they all are animals that eat meat. They eat other animals. They prey on other animals. That's what they have in common. So the word predators means that they hunt for their food. Okay. So basically, this is an example of giving a definition by giving you a list of examples. Okay, let's talk a little bit about cause and effect. If you look at this picture, because the driver of the car ran the stop sign, he hit my van. What is the cause in this sentence? Okay, so the cause of what's going on in this picture is that he ran a stop sign. That's the cause. What is the effect? The effect was he hit my van. Okay. I don't know if any of you have ever had this happen. I've had a person run a stop sign and it was a horrible experience. They sent me flying. I think I did like a whole 360. I was going in a completely different direction whenever I landed. It was very scary. But the cause of this whole accident was that the driver of the other vehicle missed the stop sign. They didn't stop. And the effect was that it totaled my car. Luckily, I wasn't hurt badly and lived through it. That is cause and effect. Let's see. Let's talk about how cause and effect can help us determine word meaning. So look at this sentence. Due to a dearth of rain, the plants died. Okay, what does dearth mean? I don't know. Never heard that word before in my life. But if I see that it says, due to the dearth of rain, the plants died. So the cause is the dearth of rain, whatever that is. The effect is that the plants died. Well, what causes plants to die most of the time? One of the biggest reasons plants die is from lack of water. They can die for other reasons, but most commonly it is because of lack of water. So a dearth of rain. And if you look at the word dearth, I always think dry earth. I think they mashed those two words together, honestly, and made a new word. But dearth means dry. So the dearth, the dryness or lack of rain is what caused the plants to die. So dearth or dryness was the cause. The effect was the plants died. That is cause and effect. Okay, so sometimes authors don't give us a lot to go on, such as an opposite or a comparison, like we've been talking about, but they may give us inferences. I love inferences. We use inferences every day, whether we realize it or not. General inference or logic is the meaning of an unfamiliar word can be inferred from the description of a situation or experience. So for example, the monkey's vociferous chatter made me wish I had earplugs in. So there's that crazy vociferous word. It's not very common. You may not know what it is when you read it, but if you say his vociferous chatter made me wish I had earplugs. Well, if a person wants earplugs, what most likely is going on? It's too noisy. There's too much noise. It's loud. So we can assume that vociferous means loud, noisy, annoying. So that's what's causing her to want earplugs in. That is an inference. They are inferring a situation that can help us figure out the information, can help us figure out the definition of vociferous. Okay, let's see. Context clues, which is all of what we've been talking about, all these different scenarios, whether it be cause and effect or inference or things like that. Those are context clues. Context clues help us unlock the meaning of words, sentences, or paragraphs. Okay, any questions so far? I'm going to take just a short pause. If you think of anything right off the bat about the content, let me know. You can always raise your hand or you can write it in the chat box. If you raise your hand and I don't see it, I apologize because I've got several screens going on here. It's kind of hard to keep up with sometimes. Okay. Okay. I'm going to move right along. We're going to talk a little bit about figurative language. So writers use literal and figurative language. In literal language, words are used according to their accepted meaning. In figurative language, words are used to mean more than their usual definition. So figurative language is meant to help readers visualize things in different ways. So I like to think of figurative as it's more of a way to get the reader to use their imagination to visualize things, whereas literal just outright tells you what it is. Okay. Some types of figurative language are the use of similes, metaphors, personification, allusions, oxymorons, hyperboles, and idioms. So we're going to talk about just a few of these right now. One that's most commonly used is a simile. A simile compares two things using the words like or as. So for example, if I say Miss Leanne is as sweet as pie, that is a simile because it uses the word as to compare two things. What was I comparing? I was comparing Miss Leanne to being as sweet as a pie. And she is, if you've ever met Miss Leanne, she's a sweet lady. She's one of our students in this class, in case y'all didn't realize that. And then colorful like crayons. I know lots of people. I have a friend whose personality is as colorful as a crayon. That is a simile. Similes always use the words like or as to compare two things. So if you see something is like or as in a sentence, most likely that's a simile if they're comparing two things. Simile, one way that I remember that is because the word simile reminds me of similar. And if something is similar, it is like. So anytime you see that using the word like to compare two things, that's just how I remember it. Miss Christie used to say that the word simile reminded her of the word smile. And you smile when you like something. That didn't compute very well to me as far as remembering something, but it may to somebody else because all of our brains work differently. Let's see some more examples of similes. This house is as clean as a whistle. Watching golf is like watching paint dry. Ain't that the truth? Y'all may be a golf fan, but I am not. It puts me to sleep. If I was actually out there playing it, that would be one thing, but just to watch it like on television or watch somebody else do it is exactly like watching paint dry. Very boring. He is as funny as a barrel of monkeys. I know lots of people that are as funny as a barrel of monkeys. If you think about a barrel of monkeys, it's pretty funny. Monkeys are funny anyways. But these are all examples of similes, using those words like or as to compare two things. Okay, let's talk about metaphors. Metaphors compare two things or ideas without using the words like or as. Okay, so for example, it's raining cats and dogs. Well, what does that mean, guys? Is it actually raining cats and dogs? No, they don't mean that there's dogs and cats falling from the sky. What it means is that it's raining very heavily or it's some type of a downpour. So it's comparing two things without using like or as. So in this scenario, we would be comparing rain to cats and dogs falling out of the sky. And it's just a way of saying it's raining really hard. Let's see some more examples of metaphors. America is a melting pot. I've heard this my whole life, and it is absolutely true. We live in America where we have lots of different cultures and races and background all in one place. It's one of the only countries in the world like that. Everybody comes here to mostly for freedom from government control, freedom from religion control, things like that. So we come from all different places for new opportunities, and we are a melting pot. We're a bunch of different cultures that are melting together. And I still say it's the greatest country on earth. We may have our problems, but we have a lot going for us as well that other countries don't have. That is a metaphor. The world is a stage. That is also a metaphor. Comparing two things without using like or as. My daughter's room is a disaster area. That is the truth. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and if her room is not a mess at all times, I think something is wrong. It looks like a complete disaster area, but that is also a metaphor. Life is a roller coaster. It absolutely is. So what are we comparing? Life and roller coaster. And we're not using like or as, so that makes this a metaphor. Okay, this is one of my favorite things to share. This is a funny example of a metaphor. I don't know if you've ever watched the show Friends, but I love Friends. This is on the very first episode. Do I have any other Friends fans in here? Me and my daughter watch this at least one episode a night before we go to bed because it makes us laugh and puts us in a good mood and to where we're not worrying about everything from the day. But this is the very first episode, and Rachel, this is one of the main characters, Rachel, and she is kind of a spoiled brat. Her dad's a doctor, came from money, and then she was going to get married, and then she realized at the last minute that she was getting married for the wrong reason. She didn't really love the guy. Awesome. That's where Chandler got his name. I love that. So she didn't want to marry the guy, so she ends up leaving him at the altar, and she runs off and finds her friend Monica, who lives in the city, and Monica lets her come back to her apartment, and her dad tracks her down. Rachel's dad tracks her down, trying to figure out what in the world happened, why she left, her fiance at the altar. And she says, all of my life, everyone has always told me, you're a shoe, you're a shoe, you're a shoe. And today I just stopped and said, what if I don't want to be a shoe? What if I want to be a purse, or a hat? And her dad's going, well, I'll buy you a hat. And she said, no, I'm not saying I want you to buy me a hat. I'm saying I am a hat. It's a metaphor, Daddy. It's hilarious, but y'all should watch Friends if you don't. But this is a good example of a metaphor, and it's funny. Let's see. Personification. This is another thing I love in writing. Personification is giving human characteristics to animals or objects. For example, the leaves dance their way through the lawn. Well, did the leaves actually dance? No, they blew across the lawn. Most likely they're just, by the wind or whatever. But if we're writing and we're trying to create a picture for somebody, it's much more creative to describe it as they danced their way through the lawn. And if you sit and watch leaves in the fall blowing across the yard or the parking lot, it really does look like they're dancing. So that's a good description, but that is personification. We're giving a human characteristic to an object, which in this case would be a leaf or leaves. Another one is the sea was angry. Well, does the sea actually have emotions such as anger? No, that's a human emotion. The sea doesn't have emotions, but we use that to describe what the sea looked like. If you've ever been out in the ocean and it starts getting rough, yes, it can look very angry. That just means that the water is very rough. Maybe the waves are getting high and they're crashing. So that's another example of personification. And you'll see those a lot in creative writing. Okay, let's talk about her hyperboles. This is a funny word. An hyperbole is an exaggerated claim that emphasizes a point. For example, I almost died laughing. Well, that's an extreme exaggeration, but you're trying to get the point across when you say that it was hilarious. Nobody is actually probably going to die from laughing. I mean, never say never. I guess it could happen, but most likely that's not going to happen. That's just an exaggeration to describe the funniness of something. Donald Trump, he was notorious and still is for using hyperboles. Everything that Donald Trump described about himself, his team, it was always exaggerated. It's always, I have the world's best memory, and everybody knows that. There has never been a presidency that has done so much in a short period of time. Everything is always exaggerated. And I'm not just picking on Donald Trump. You can like him, you can hate him. That's your own prerogative. You could think he's the greatest president of all time. You may think he's the worst. And that's the beauty of America. You have that opinion, the right to that opinion. But Donald Trump himself, I say I'm not picking on him, but he himself knows what he's doing. And if you didn't know this, some of the younger ones, before Donald Trump was a president, he was a businessman. He was not a politician. And he was a very good businessman, very successful. And so everybody wanted to know, what his secrets were. And he's written a lot of books on business and how to run business and things like that. In one of his books called The Art of the Deal, Trump said, I play to people's fantasies. I call it a truthful hyperbole. It's an innocent form of exaggeration and a very effective form of promotion. So he knew what he was doing. He knows he exaggerates things to make his point. That is an example of a hyperbole. Okay, any questions so far as content? So we're going to get off of here in a minute. And what we're going to do is you're going to have some assignments to do. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. And I'm going to start sharing a different screen for you. If I can get to that. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to your Google Classroom. I'm going to copy this and I am going to email that to Lemon really quick. Or I will here in just a second, Lemon. But this is it's QBBZ MFS. And I will also email that to you here in just a minute when I can get to that screen. But this is what your Google Classroom should look like. Again, if you go to your classwork, you're going to scroll down to where it says class 1, January 12th. I'm going to have you do, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 assignments. That sounds like a lot. Don't panic. Some of these are very short. But I do want you to start with this determine word meaning, these first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get through those over the next hour or so until we meet back here at 11. Work on these, getting those done. If you get a chance to get to your Common Lit, by all means do that, but I do want you to focus on getting these first 5 done over the next hour or so, because those are the ones we're going to go over. Let me talk to you a minute about Common Lit. So if you look at your Common Lit assignment, it's going to look different for you because this is a teacher view, but if you go to your Common Lit, it's going to take you to another website. It's not going to look like this because I'm already signed in. Let me see if I can get back. Okay, so there's going to be a place, let me log out. It's going to take you to this Common Lit website and you're going to log in. So it's going to look like this. If you have never used Common Lit before, what you do is you are going to do this new user sign up. And you're going to say, I'm a student, and your class code is in your Google Classroom. So if you look back in your stream, in your Google Classroom, under stream, and scroll down, right here, Common Lit class code. So that is the code that you would type in. I'm going to copy and paste it to there. Paste it and then submit. And then it's going to come up with this sign up with Common Lit, and you're going to fill out this information. Just make sure you remember your password so you can get back in. And you're going to set up that account, and it's going to take you directly to work on your assignment there. And let me show you what one of these assignments look like. I'm going to type it in. I have way too many passwords, but I remembered it. Okay. So this is kind of what your assignment is going to look like. And it's basically just a little reading about Martin Luther King. I thought this would be fitting because Monday is Martin Luther King Day. You're just going to read through, and as you're reading through, you're going to see where it says like Q1. And actually, it won't let you read past that. Yours is going to be blurred out until you answer the first question. But if you click on that, it's going to bring up your question, and it's a multiple choice answer, and you answer it that way. And then it'll take you back. You go back and read. Then you get to question 2, and you put in your answer. And those are very simple. It's simple to use. I actually like it because it goes, read a little bit, do a question, read a little bit, do a question. And so I think there's 7 questions total. So it won't take you that long when you get into that. Okay. And speaking of Martin Luther King Day, we will not have class next Monday because we don't have classes due to Martin Luther King Day. So the next time we will meet other than today, because we're going to meet back here at 11, but we are not going to meet next Monday, and we'll talk about that again here in just a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. We're going to end this Zoom, and you're going to go to your Google Classroom over the next hour or so and work on your assignments. And then we're going to get right back on the Zoom. You just click on the same link that's in your Google Classroom, and we will meet back here at 11, and we will go over those assignments together. I will see you all in just a little bit. Please type your name in the chat box before you leave to sign out. Thank you.